Hello.
Hello.
Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay. Hold on 1 second. There we go. I've got an echo. Has someone got? Have you got YouTube on?
Do I?
I've got an echo. Has someone got? Yeah.
Hold on, I'm going to turn my computer off. Do I? That might help. Is that better?
We'll find out. So today's live is about. Today's live is about Timmy Dees, and Barbara Hall's here to talk with us about her son's case. Barbara, if you just want to start out by introducing us to who Timmy is, tell us a bit about him and some of your fondest memories.
Okay. Timmy was 25. He was a rigger. He put up concerts. He worked for Local 6 Union Hall. He was funny. He liked music. He loved his job because that was great for his job because he loved music so much. And he was a jokester. He always liked to make you laugh. He was for the underdog. He always told me how he was up for the underdog. And that week before this all happened, well, before that, we lost my son, Michael, on June 19th, 2021. And he was grieving his brother, but he stayed with me the whole week before he went missing. And we spent a lot of time together, went to church. I was blessed. I got to see him get saved in church that week. And the day he left here, see, Caleb didn't pick him up at my house. Caleb picked him up at a friend of his house that Timmy worked with. And the last time I saw Timmy, oh God, the last time I saw him, he was standing in my living room and he was leaving with his friend. And I put my hand on his head and I told him, you're covered by the blood of Jesus. And he just grinned at me and laughed. And he goes, I know, Mom. And he gave me a kiss and hug. And that was the last time I saw him.
Well, when you say he spent the week with you, was he acting strange or anything like that week, or was there anything weird that you noticed amongst his friends or anything like that?
No,
During that week.
we cooked. We ate a lot of food that week. We watched movies. We cried together. I mean, he was sad. He's missing his brother. And so was I. And then he kept saying how he could have saved his brother. And I said, Timmy, you couldn't have saved your brother. I said, and you don't need to hold that burden. It's not your burden to carry. I said, I tried to help your brother. I said, there's nothing we could do. We have to believe that Michael's in a better place. And we just hung out, watched movies, and ate plenty of food. And that was just spend our days together. And like I said, then he went to church with me. And the pastor asked him if you want, the pastor always asked if you want to let Jesus in your heart. Ask Jesus to come in your heart. And he was standing right next to me. And he put his hands up and he did that. And I looked over at him and tears were running down his face. And we walked out of church and he goes, man, that felt so good. And I go, Timmy, that's what you need to do. And he goes, I know, Mom. And we came home. We went and got some Kentucky Fried Chicken and came home. And then the next day is when he left with his friend. And then Caleb picked him up from his friend's house.
So I'm seeing a few regulars in the chat, not necessarily from my lives, but from lives that I've watched with you involved. What's it called? If they've got any questions or anything, what I'll do is I'll pull them up on screen for you, or if they've got something directed at you, I'll pull them up on screen. If you can't see them, that's not a problem. I can read them out for you. But if you just finish what you're saying, if you just finish what you're saying when I do that, then we'll address the comment, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here because I can't see the comments. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have Facebook. I had no social media when this happened. So I'm learning this stuff as I go. I'm trying to play with a laptop I have, trying to figure out how to use it because I'm not good with electronics. But I'm getting there. But I'll tell you a story about Timmy. When COVID hit, I decided to quit dyeing my hair. And my son Michael would tease me all the time. Mom, if you can't afford hair dye, he'd say, I go get you some. And I'm like, I'm not dyeing my hair no more. And I was in the car with Timmy. And I said to Timmy, Timmy, do I look that weird not dyeing my hair? I go, because your brother keeps making fun of me. And he goes, I don't think you look any different. He goes, I haven't even noticed. He said, you're just as beautiful to me today as you've always been. And I'll treasure that. Timmy
Barbara
had a
is
big
better
heart.
at tech than Frank. Yeah. Rescue says Barbara's better at technology than Frank. Yeah. So a few people are saying hello. Grandma Sherry.
Oh, thank
Marion
you.
Tate.
That's my sister. Marion Tate's my sister.
Oh, is that your sister? I saw her in last night's live.
Yeah.
Spark you said hello.
Hi, Park you. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for the support. It means a lot.
Ben and Barbara as well. Everyone's saying hello.
Thank
Karen.
you.
Okay, I'll knock it back down to the bottom. So the week that he went missing, if we start from the night before, so the night before he went missing, was there anything like was he with you that night, or was that the night that he got picked up?
Yeah, that was the night he got picked up. When he was here at my house, was that same night. He went to his friends, and then Caleb, apparently, from what I'm understanding, came up here to St. Louis and picked up Timmy and brought him down to Fredericktown. And then I don't know what happened, but Timmy was missing. I knew he was missing because I had went to church that night. I come home and I got deathly sick. And I tried to call him, and it wasn't like Timmy not to answer his phone or his text or anything to me after Michael had passed. That was not normal. And I don't know how to explain how sick I was, but I was deathly sick. I mean, pacing the floors. I was crying. So I called my neighbor, and I told my neighbor how I was feeling. And she told me to call the police. So that's what I did and made a missing persons report. Then the following day is when I found out he was down in Fredericktown, Missouri. So
this is a question I think will actually be interesting for you. How well do you know Caleb?
I've known Caleb since Caleb was 6 years old. Him and Timmy were friends since second grade. But see,
So you've known him basically.
The thing
You've
with
known him
Caleb
basically all his life.
Yeah. The thing with Caleb is that when I lived down in Marble Hill is where I raised my kids, which is not far from Fredericktown. And that's how Timmy and Caleb met, was in school, in grade school. And they've since like second grade. And when Timmy and my son Michael got older, they moved up here to the city to work because there wasn't really work there. We lived in a town that had 1,500 people. So my kids moved up to here to work, and then I followed them. Actually, Timmy helped me, got a U-Haul and paid for me to move up to St. Louis to be closer to him. So I moved up here, and we hadn't heard from Caleb. I saw pictures of him and knew he had a baby and stuff, but Timmy wasn't around Caleb for a while. And then after Timmy's lost his brother, that's when Timmy, I don't know if Timmy reached out to Caleb or how that went, but they started talking again. And it made sense to me because Caleb knew Michael, Timmy's brother. So I could see Timmy going to a friend that knew his brother. So, yeah. And then come to find out, he's shooting meth. I don't know if I could say that on here, but
well, you're okay with
that had been going on for 2.5 years. I found out that Caleb had been doing that for 2.5 years, and then after Timmy was missing, and I found out that Timmy was down in Fredericktown and that Caleb was in jail, I called down to the police station and found out that when he was in jail, and I sent him money first. Then I gave him my phone number and asked them to have Caleb call me. So Caleb called me from the police station, and he was mad at Timmy. The first conversation, he was mad and he was yelling and he was saying how Timmy caused him to lose everything, and he didn't pay for the gas and all this stuff. And I said, Caleb, right now, that's not what's important. I said, Timmy's missing. We need to find Timmy. Where's Timmy? And he told me a different story every time I talked to him. And then I just got suspicious of him because, I mean, when you're telling the truth don't change. You know?
Yeah. So just quickly, because his link's just been dropped and your sister's just said, True Crime Web Foundation is a blessing to our family. Do you just want to explain what the True Crime Web Foundation is and what they've done like to support you? Like just quickly, so people know what they're on about with.
Well, since we couldn't get anything done down there, my sister and I I found out about podcast. Didn't know what a podcast was, didn't know nothing about podcasting. And Arctic Fox got a hold of me and told me he saw my picture of Timmy missing and talked to me. And then that's when I found out what a podcast was. So my sister and I sat down and we split up podcasting. And she found Mr. Steve from True Crime Web Foundation, and she told him what was going on. And then he got a hold of me and he took Timmy's case, which was a blessing. But True Crime Web Foundation, they help families that don't have any money, that are looking for their loved ones, are needing justice, looking at their cases. And he took Timmy's case on. I don't know why. I feel blessed that he did. So we
Well,
have
he's in the
been,
chat.
we
He's
have
in the
been.
chat now.
Oh, hi, Mr. Steve.
So also, one of my mods has just dropped the petition. What's the petition about?
The petition is trying to get Timmy's case reopened because they closed Timmy's case right after he was found. No answers, but they'll close it. I don't understand that.
So
I mean,
the petition is for to reopen the case.
yes.
Okay. So if you guys could sign the petition, Jinx, if you can send it me as well. And what I'll do is afterwards, I'll put it in the description of this video with the rest of the stuff. Like last night's video is in the description. Barbara did an interview with Arctic Fox, and also in there is Ruckus and Mr. Steve's links. If you can send me the foundation, Aurora, I'll stick that in there as well for everyone. So
How we met, and so then after Mr. Steve called me because my sister gave him his number, and he said he would look at Timmy's case. He was going to come to Missouri, and my nephew was taking the family to Florida because he said I needed to get away from this for a while, and he was right. I did, because Timmy was found at that point. So we went to Florida, and I told Mr. Steve, I said, I was going to Florida. And so we just went to meet him, and we gave him the information. We just drove to Atlanta and gave it to him on our way back from Florida. And we've been going ever since with this case. And there's others.
yeah, well, Mr. Steve does amazing work. If you go over to his channel, his lives and everything he does on his channel is to show you the kind of things he'll do, like an example of what he's talking about. So, say if he's talking about blood spatter, he'll show you an example of what he's talking about. So, it's a great channel for you to go and subscribe to. He hasn't been around a bit, but he's a busy man. Anyway, so with the night he went missing, there was a lot of unusual activity. Wouldn't you say?
I didn't know there was any. I just had found out that Caleb had drove up here and picked up Timmy. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
But I know that Timmy, I mean, he was sad, but he was with me that whole week. He was fine. I don't understand. I don't understand why they're calling him an alcoholic, because Timmy was not an alcoholic. But everything that Caleb seems to say is everything that they want to accept. And it's like, but he called 911 saying his friend's threatening him. There's a big difference between what Caleb's saying, because Caleb's saying that Timmy talked to him on the phone and he was running, saying, and he was high on drugs and somebody was chasing him. Well, I did not know that the paperwork from the 911, I believed Caleb and what they were telling me at that time. And then on it was June 17th, I'll never forget it. I went down to the police station. I told him I wanted a copy of that 911, even though lightning struck the audio. So they at first didn't want to give it to me. Then I said, well, I guess, what about the sunshine law request? I said, can I get it that way? And then finally the sheriff called me. That's the first time she ever talked to me. And she gave me that paper, and I'm sitting in the car and I'm reading that paper. I was like, wait a minute. Everybody's saying that Timmy was paranoid and running, but the paperwork clearly said that Timmy said my friend is threatening me. That's two different things than saying somebody's paranoid and running, thinking somebody's chasing him and somebody's threatening him. So that's when you get.
I heard last night, just going back to that there was a thread of text messages that I think Dan went over and he was saying like it doesn't match what Collab was saying. As
Right.
in, Collab was saying he was telling him to come back, calm down. But Dan's saying, I don't know if he showed him, but Dan was saying that it doesn't match. The messages that was actually sent doesn't match. Do you know
Well,
anything about that?
the interesting thing about them text messages is that they never found Timmy's phone. They didn't want to find Timmy's phone. I think I think somebody had his phone. I believe Caleb had his phone because Timmy and Caleb were texting each other on a app called Signal. And in that app, the last thing that Caleb ever said to Timmy was, "I'm going to beat your effing ass." That's not how he
Because
put
it's
it, but
do you know when that was sent, or is that
that was
something
sent.
you?
That was sent the day Timmy went that right before or after Timmy made the 911 call. I think it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not real sure. Mr. Steve would know the answer to that. I'm not. I'd have to get my paperwork out, but sometime that morning, he told Timmy he's going to beat Timmy's effing ass, and then never ever talks to Timmy again. Never. So all those times he's telling me he's going to look for Timmy and all that, he never once looked for Timmy. He did show up at the courthouse one day, and he came over and he sat down next to me and a friend of mine that was sitting there, and he said, well, first of all, I ran up to him and I fell in his arms and I was crying, and I was like, Caleb, please help me look for him. What happened? And he was stiff. I mean, just cold. It didn't even seem like the same kid I knew. So I said, he says, I said, will you help me look for him? He doesn't say anything. He comes over and then he sits down on the curb, and he starts telling me how Trevor Holland is a family man. I said, oh, a family man that shoots meth and heroin. I said, I've never known anybody that's a family man that does something like that, Caleb. And he stopped talking about him. And then I said, well, what about this Mike Busking? And he said, well, Mike Busking dated my mom. And I said, oh, well, how'd that go? And he said, my mom's difficult. And I said, okay, so what's that mean? And he sits there, doesn't say another word. And then he stands up and says, well, I think he's just on the run. And he left. That was it. And what's interesting about that is that his sister got a hold of me and was going off on me and sent me a picture of Caleb sitting at the courthouse with me that I never knew was even taken. So Caleb had his girlfriend in the van when he got out of the van to talk to me and was sitting there. He had her take a picture of us sitting there. And then he had his sister throw it out on Facebook and stuff that he was helping me. He never even offered to help me after he got out of jail like he said he would. Not once. He never looked for Timmy. He never got on that Signal app that they talked about all the time on, because Timmy and Caleb talked 400 times in the month of February. And his sister talked to Timmy over 100 times, but neither one of them two people even reach out to see how Timmy is, if he's okay. All they kept saying is he's on the run and he was trying to get away from the family. I mean, he had so many different stories. I could go on the stories he told.
Well,
I got
going back
so
to your text messages, you sent me a screenshot or a picture anyway
oh,
of some messages. I'm going to pull these up. If who are these between?
that text messages between Caleb and Winter Kelly. I mean, not Winter. That girl down there in the corner on the right hand side. That her name's Bobby Boom. She's in all kinds of.
Bobby.
She's a whole nother thing. But that's Caleb talking to Bobby Boone. Well, Caleb's saying that he went to jail at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, but obviously he didn't go to jail at 8 o'clock in the morning because that's a message off Messenger. And it's at 10. What's the time on that? I can't see it real well right now. 8:37, and then 10,
8:37,
and then the
10
last
a.m.
one's 10:19. Well,
Yeah,
you don't get to use Messenger in jail. So he couldn't have been in jail at no 8 or 9 o'clock like he's trying to tell everybody. That proves that. Because I asked the police, I said, can you get on Messenger and talk on Messenger uh, in jail? And they told me no.
Now, because these are hard to read, I'm going to just quickly read them. I'll just get Steve's comment off so we can. So it starts off the bottom of the top message. So I'm guessing Bobby's the one on the right hand side.
Yes.
But if you still need that whistle, and then that message ends, and then Collab goes on to say, no effing crazy shit happened. And then Bobby says, everything okay? Not really. That mother effer got sketched out, stole some of my shit, and ran off like a dude. I'm so peed. Want to go beat him up? I kind of do, but at this point in time, I have no clue where he's at. I see. Well, if I do see him, I'll knock him upside his head. Straight up. When I see him, I'm effing him up. And then please send me 10 or I'm going jail.
I would like to know what that 10 is that he's wanting.
Yeah. I just quickly want to pull Mr. Steve's comment back up because that's really like something people could learn from. So it says victimology is important. Is it coming up? There we go. Okay. Victimology is important in all cases. And through Timmy's Facebook, we were able to discover the new threats, timelines, and contradictions supporting evidence.
Yes.
So he's telling everybody, you know, especially you, oh, you know, he was off his head, he just ran off. And then, you know, I was trying to get him to come back, and you find contradictions.
Right, and then that. I got a video where he tells me, he loves Timmy, and he's going to do everything he can to help me find him, that he's worried about him, but then never looked for him. And obviously did not even reach out to Timmy on the app that he always contacted and talked to Timmy 400 times. And then he's missing, and you don't reach out and say, hey, are you okay? I mean, I don't understand that. If you, one of my friends go missing, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
But Caleb never does that. And neither did his sister that had been talking to Timmy over 100 times in that same app. That's interesting to me. And he says that he kept saying that Timmy's on the run. Well, then he's supposed to have he's saying he went to jail between, he says 8 o'clock on some of my reports. And then on some other reports, it says 9 o'clock. But obviously at 10:16, he wasn't in jail because that's where that text messages come from. It's just insane to me that nobody will do
so
anything.
That night, they went to a gas station. Was it as a group, or was it Timmy went alone? And they seen him there. Or can you tell us a bit about that, or if you can?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So that night they went to a gas station where a lot of activity happened. What I guess I was asking was, can you tell us a bit about that, like from your perspective, as in what you know?
At the gas station, Timmy, Caleb, Trevor, Bobby Boone, all these people are at the gas station at 1:30 in the morning. Timmy's fine, alive, and well at that time. At 4:40 in the morning is when he made the 911 call. See, that's Caleb inside the gas station, and that's Timmy walking up to the door.
So that's Timmy outside, and he's on the
Yes, and that's
inside.
Caleb. Yeah, the guy with the braids is Caleb. That's the first time I've ever seen Caleb look like that too. Every since I've known him as a little kid, he was always a little chunky. So I wouldn't even have known that that was Caleb if I ran into him, because that doesn't look like the Caleb I knew. And then and then at 9:11 in the morning, the debit card was used 3 times and didn't go through. But when Timmy was found, the debit card was in his wallet. And where the debit card was used is it's a few miles from where Timmy was found. So I don't think Timmy went to that gas station, tried to use his debit card, then went all the way over there to the woods, 184 yards from where he made a 911 call and said, my friend's threatening me. I don't think he went to that gas station at 9:11 in the morning and tried to use his debit card and then went back there and was dead in the woods. Doesn't make any sense. None of it.
No. So Doodlebug says, how well does Caleb know the night shift worker? If gas wasn't paid for, why was it a day shift that called Ellie?
I'm not sure about who called Ellie, but I do know that Caleb, in his statements to the highway or to Monroe, the detective, he tells the detective that he told Timmy, "You better pay for the gas. This is my gas station." So that is a regular place that Tim or Caleb would go to. He calls it his gas station. So
His gas station.
yeah, it's his gas station. He calls it. So it's apparently the gas station he always goes to. I've been there. It's kind of creepy.
So there's also other cases like with similar circumstances. Not only similar circumstances, but the same actors, as in the same people. Like names are popping up in those cases as well. Do
There's
you want to
about
quickly talk?
7 cases. There's about 7 cases I could tell you about, and all the same people's involved.
Yeah. So it's not just a one-off thing. It seems to be like same names, similar circumstances, over and over again.
And
Would you
then
say that's fair?
the police don't seem to want to do anything there. It's just blows me away. There's a 21 or 20-year-old girl that disappeared right after Timmy down there. She was picked up at the McDonald's there at Fredericktown, but they don't want you to talk about that. And her uncle was involved with all these people, and he took her life. So, but if you ask anybody about it down there, they try to say she wasn't picked up at the McDonald's in Fredericktown, but I know the mom, and she was. And she and her uncle was involved with these people, and her uncle killed her, and he got life in prison. They actually beat her, chopped her up, and buried her. It's insane.
They do in my town. If you get gas and don't pay for it, they will call law. I live in a town same size as Fredericktown, Missouri. 4,000 people that live there. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about now. Um, after Timmy was found and things like that, the struggles that you've gone through, and what I mean by the struggles that you've gone through is in like to get answers, and what you've been doing um,
A
to
couple of
help
days
with that.
after Timmy was found, just within a couple of days, the highway patrol called me on the phone. First, they told me they thought Timmy was running and he lost his shoe. And I said, well, if Timmy was running and lost his shoe, then somebody had to have been chasing him, because Timmy would have stopped and got his shoe. Timmy was all about his shoes. I helped him clean those shoes before he left. He bought those shoes the same time he bought his phone on Thanksgiving. The day before Thanksgiving is when he bought the shoes and his phone. We went to the mall together. And I actually teased him because he spent so much money. And I was like, well, you work for it. It's your money. So I'm not going to say anything. But I just wouldn't spend that much money on his phone and a pair of shoes. But, he was single. He didn't have kids. So he spent his money on what he wanted. And so they told me that he was running. Then they told me that they think he froze to death. Then they told me that the current took his shoes off of his feet. And I said, oh. So the current's that powerful there that took the shoes off of his feet. And they were telling me, yeah. And I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. I said, because I go fishing. I like fishing. And there's not enough water there. There's not enough current there that would do that. And he says, you're just not going to, what did he say? There's a word he said. I'm trying to think. Oh, you're not going to reason with us. I said, because you're not giving me a reasonable explanation on what happened to him. I said, and then they told me that the case was, that they hung up the phone on me that day. That was only a few days after he was found. They hung up the phone on me when I was asking questions. So then on August the 12th, I drove there. And then that was a whole nother experience because I brought that check in at the Facebook and how it was gone. And I asked them if they were going to do anything. And apparently I found out when I left, they had to close the case already. They just didn't tell me. I guess they didn't want to tell me to my face because after I left, I found out it was closed. And then I called them and I've got recordings of their phone calls and they're telling me I'm delusional and calling me a liar because I was asking questions about who I had talked to and what the FBI had told me. And they told me that I was lying about the FBI being involved in the case. And I said, I talked to the FBI. They told me they were involved because they were going to do something on Timmy's phone. Jeff Johnson, the highway patrol, called the FBI, said he was going to have something done with Timmy's phone. But then the next day after Timmy was found, they called the FBI and told them they didn't need their assistance anymore. And so when I talked to the FBI, the guy told me there that Jeff Johnson had called them and canceled that warrant for the phone because Timmy was found. And I said, well, what about the phone? The phone wasn't found. They're saying the phone went down the creek. And he said, ma'am, I don't know what to tell you. He said, Jeff Johnson called it off. Well, then I called Jeff Johnson and Jeff Johnson told me, or his boss, I called Scott Stolting is his name, Scott Stolting. He's Jeff Johnson's boss. He tells me that I'm a liar, that the FBI wasn't involved, that I'm misunderstanding. I said, no, sir. I said, they didn't just tell me that. They told the PI that too. So the FBI was involved and they're saying they weren't. So.
Okay, so Steve says a friend would contact the family and say, Timmy and I talk 10, 15 times a day, and Timmy isn't calling or texting, and advise that they are worried. Collab didn't do that. And then Doodlebug responded, right, I mean, some friends have you on a flyer after 4 days of no contact.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Steves responded, how many flyers did Collab get from the family and put up? Oh, interesting.
Caleb didn't get in. Caleb didn't put any flyers out. And then we had Timmy's birthday. We had a little march there. I made signs and we marched around. It was before Timmy was found. It was April the 10th because that's Timmy's birthday. And Timmy's dad and a few other people drove down Caleb's street. Caleb come running out of the house and cussing Timmy's dad out. Then he got in his vehicle and drove to the police station. And Timmy's dad said he was about to punch him. And the highway patrol said, well, it's a good thing you didn't because he'd sue you. It's
a good thing you didn't because he'd sue you.
Yeah.
Not the sort of thing you'd expect to hear, is it?
So instead of Caleb helping us look for Timmy, he got in Timmy's dad's face and cussed him out like a dog. There was witnesses there. It was unreal how he did that.
So I mean, he's done absolutely nothing to help the case at all. When he was talking to you, he was giving you one story, and then he was going to the police and giving them two different stories depending on who he was talking to. And then,
Okay.
as I saw last night, when he was talking to his sister, his story would change going on what she was saying.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And the way he spoke to his sister as well, chat, I can tell you, was disgusting. He recommended that she sent out some nudes to, I don't know if it was a specific person or if he just recommended it in general to make money. That was to his little sister. So
The whole thing is insane to me. I mean, I could not get the police down there to come out of the police station and look for Timmy for 6 weeks. Even though he made a 911 call saying his friend was threatening him and he's missing, you won't come out of the police station and look for him. They tried to tell me I couldn't prove that Timmy made the 911 call. First, they told me I couldn't prove that Timmy was missing down there. And I said, I absolutely can. He was at 1:30 in the morning, he was alive and fine and well at that gas station. I said, and then at 4:40, he made a 911 call. I didn't know what that 911 call said at that time, but I knew he made one. And he said, the police officer said, well, you can't prove he made the 911 call. I said, so you're telling me what? Somebody took Timmy's phone and made a 911 call from his phone? He didn't do it? Why would they do that? Didn't make any sense to me. So that's why the fight even got more, because nothing they told me or would do made any sense.
yeah. Well,
I mean, to
that
me, I
night,
don't,
that
I think, to me,
that
he was
night, it wasn't just Collab, and it wasn't just Timmy. There were other people there as well, weren't there? Do you want to tell us a bit about the other two people that was there?
yeah, Trevor Holland was there and Mike Busking, I know for sure was there. There's a few other people I know was there, but I can't prove that. But Mike Busking was there. He admits he was there. He said I'll have to tell you this phone call. I talked to Caleb on the phone, and it was very interesting to me that Caleb was telling me, I asked him who was there, and he's telling me that Mike Busking was there. And I said, well, who's, but he goes, but he never ever saw Timmy's face. He never saw his face. He never saw his face. And that's what he kept saying. And I had the phone on speaker for my girlfriend to listen to it. And I said, does that sound strange to you? Why would Caleb keep going on about this Mike Busking never seeing Timmy's face? That's weird to me. And she said, yeah, that is weird. I said, I mean, if I was somewhere and you were there and my friend didn't see you, I'd say, oh, well, my friend didn't, he was there, but you didn't, my friend didn't see him. I wouldn't be going on about never seeing his face. And then after I got the sunshine law request done, it's Mike Busking's admitting that he talked to Timmy. So why is Caleb saying Mike Busking never saw Timmy's face, but Mike Busking is saying that he talked to Timmy that night?
Yeah. Well,
I
it
mean,
sounds to me like they couldn't get their story straight. They didn't know what they were saying, and Mike probably told him early on, "Don't mention me." And
yeah, but
then,
Mike Busking admits, and then Caleb admits later that Mike Busking rode around looking for Timmy with him.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, like at first, like Mike might have said, "Don't mention me, keep me out of it," and then later on, because of something coming up where people said, "Well, we saw him there," he come forward and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I saw him." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because he tells a completely different story, and his story, like it's clear that the spine of the story is their story, but it seems to me when you listen to his, there is some truths in it. Like when he talks about like well, where do you think he is? Like he doesn't say, oh, he's out of state, or oh, maybe he's gone off with a girl this way, or do you know what I mean? He actually says, I think he's in the woods near the house, near the
yeah.
barn.
At one point, but then later he says Timmy's on the run, went to Florida, went to Tennessee, went to LA. I mean, he says, so you just heard one of his statements because every statement Caleb's made has been different. They're not the same. And it is which the same thing that Caleb did to me. That's why I couldn't understand why they didn't see that interesting that something's going on here because he couldn't keep his story straight. And when you're telling the truth, it doesn't change. I mean, maybe a few
Yeah.
words might change, but the story doesn't change.
Well, the story doesn't change. There might be bits added onto it, like, oh, you know what? I've just remembered this. But yeah, like you said, it doesn't change. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And Caleb's was changing every time you talked to him. And it's just, when then he made that in that 911 call, the police arrive within 5 minutes of the 911 call. The police are there. And Trevor was outside of the front of the house. They apparently talked to Trevor and found out he had a warrant. They arrested him. Then the officer, Kennedy's his name, went up to I got a recording of him even admitting to this. He went up to the house, knocked on the door, said that he asked for the person that made the 911 call, and they told him in that house that the guy left. So they never called Timmy back or anything. They never even looked for him. And they said, well, just tell him the threat's gone and we're leaving. So, and then they leave. So they never called Timmy back on his phone to see if he was all right, which I thought that's what you're supposed to do. That's what they do where I live. If you accidentally call 911, they call back. But they didn't do that in Timmy's case. His phone records do not show they ever made a phone call to see if he was all right or anything. They just left. And then when Timmy was missing, you would think they would have looked for him after that. They didn't do that either for 6 weeks. I'm not exaggerating.
Corey here is saying, when was the last time he saw Collab before that night? Was that covered? Okay, so you said that they weren't really talking. Is that right?
They hadn't talked for, I don't think they talked very much for a few years because Timmy was living up here in St. Louis. But after Timmy's brother passed, I think that's when they started communicating and getting back in touch with each other, which, like I said, didn't surprise me because Caleb knew Michael. And if I lost my brother or sister, I'm going to go to a friend that knew him too for comfort. So that didn't bring up any red flags to me.
PJ from Lighting the Way Home says she's sending love to you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
So, hang on, let me look at this again. So, do you know when, like, during the 5 months that Timmy was missing, what was it that Ellie actually did? Like, was there, was there any searches, like, or anything like that, or was it all done by yourselves?
Well, my sister, her husband, some of Timmy's friends and stuff, we went down there and we searched for the first 6 weeks by ourselves. Police never helped us. Then the detective from up here where I live handed the case over to the highway patrol, and then the highway patrol did a search, and they even had helicopters and everything. And at that time, I think it's kind of interesting, at that time where they had the helicopters, Timmy was there, but I think they covered him up. They threw him in that ditch and they threw him away like trash is what they did. And when they had them helicopters, there was no tree, there wasn't no leaves on the trees or anything. It was still cold. So, I don't know. I just would have thought that they would have found him, but then I found out later that it's possible that he wouldn't have been found with helicopters. So they did a search. That was I'd have to get my calendar out. I'll go get my calendar because I can tell you more on my calendar because I never write things down in a calendar, but for some reason I started doing that too. I wrote everything down day to day that happened. From the time Timmy went missing, everything that happened, I wrote down.
Well, while you look for that, I'll just read this out what Mr. Steve's put.
Okay.
There are hundreds of contacts between Timmy and Collab over the months before. In February alone, there are almost 400 contacts between them. Not one contact attempt after the 911 call.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
I think you meant though when you said what you were saying, what you meant was like physical, like meetups. Like you didn't see him around the house and that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, I haven't seen Caleb in many, many years. I didn't even know that Timmy was talking to Caleb, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no reason for Timmy to tell me that. I don't, I didn't keep up with Caleb's life. I moved up here and was close to my kids, and that was people down there that lived down there. All
So he
right, so
says
I got my
other than the
calendar.
last threat.
So the first time that they did a search for Timmy was, I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm reading each day. March 12th. And then on March 13th is when I went and got permit. No, wait a minute. That's wrong. That's when I was still looking for Timmy, was March the 12th. We went down there, had a search for Timmy. My sister and a bunch of us went down there looking for him. And Caleb told us to go the opposite way of where Timmy was found. So we were listening to Caleb where he said he might have ran to. Because at that time, that's when Caleb was saying that Timmy said he was paranoid and on stuff, and he said somebody was chasing him. So we had no reason to not believe what Caleb was saying at that time. So Caleb told us to go back by the cemetery in that opposite way than where Timmy was found before. So that's where we were looking for him at. So on the 12th of March, we did that. And then on the 13th of March, I went down there and got permission slips from all the people around there to get cadaver dogs, because a friend of mine works for, he's the chief of the fire department, told me he had cadaver dogs if I wanted him to use them. And I said, that would be great. So he said, the only thing though, is I had to go around and get permission slips from people around that area so that they could go on their land. So that's what I did. So that was on March 13th. Then on March 15th is when we brought the cadaver dogs there. And they hid on them storage units 5 and 6. 5 they opened, 6 they refused to open, said it was a police officers and it was a school resource officer. And they're lying and saying they didn't. They searched it, but there's no way they could have searched it because somebody was sitting on that storage unit before the police even got there. There was no timeline for the police to have looked in that locker. They never looked in that storage unit.
While the numbers are high on the chat and that, I just want to quickly say the weekend Saturday we're having another mom on. If you guys want to check that live out as well, it is set up ready for you to set a reminder and that for it. That's a case from Florida. In case you don't know, I did a live on it. If you want to check that out after this, or look it up yourselves, I don't know. Anyway, back to you, Barbara. When so
on
when
the
he was
March,
found, when he was found, like was it just and then they told you what they thought happened and then case closed, or was there an investigation? Um, anything like that you could tell the audience
no,
about?
there was nothing. They did nothing after Timmy was found.
Okay.
Case closed. They
Um,
moved on.
Yeah. Also, while we've got Barbara here, Barbara's got a Facebook group that's in the description. It's called Find Timmy, but obviously,
Well, that
um,
Find Timmy group I changed into a missing group for anybody that has a missing
yeah,
person. You can post on that Find Timmy. I just left that up so people could
yeah,
post on there that's got missing loved ones.
yeah.
Timmy, there's a Justice for Timmy Facebook group.
So if you guys want to share flyers for creators, or you're a creator yourself and you want to share a flyer, just jump over to that Facebook group, join it, and then you can share things in there. And obviously, you're the admin and that as well, and you're in there, so they can contact
Yes.
you and find out if there's anything new going on.
Yes, it sends me a notification and I have to approve it, but you have a missing loved one, share it on there. It'll definitely you can share all you want of missing people on that page. I kept it up for that reason because I lived that nightmare and I don't know how I did now,
Yeah.
but I did.
So let me just quickly ask you about that, because I've noticed it a lot with like the families that I've spoken to in the past. They all seem to like share other people's. Do you feel that helps you as
Yes.
well as like the case? Like it helps the case because people aren't just looking at the same case every day; they're seeing other cases as well in between. So do you feel like that helps the
Oh
case?
yeah.
And then how? And do you feel like it helps you? Like just not with you, like mentality, but just like getting up in the day, like and things like that.
Yeah, I know 5 months is not long at all compared to some of these other families I've met along this journey that have had their loved ones missing. And that is very important to me. And it does help knowing that if you can help somebody else not have to live this, it's a blessing. So, yeah, helping other people find their loved ones or getting flyers out or anything I can do to help anybody helps a lot. Helps you feel like you're at least got something to live for because I've lost both my kids. I'm not going to have grandkids. I'm not going to have that any of that now. And but I've met a lot of wonderful people too that are awesome, and you just want to help them find their loved ones because that feeling of not knowing is enough to drive a person crazy. I mean, that not knowing. And now it's the not knowing what happened, and they don't seem to care that you don't care. They want you to just go away. They told me I'm delusional.
I think it's more the justice side. I mean, it seems like you don't know, the exacts of what happened, but you've got a rough idea. You know what I mean of what's
Right.
happened. Well, people involved anyway. Like you've got an idea of who was involved, where it happened, and
And
where it ended.
they just keep being able to live their lives. And it's just
Yeah.
not fair. I mean, I believe in forgiveness. I'm not angry with Caleb anymore. I'm forgiven Caleb, but it doesn't mean I don't want him held accountable for what he's done.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's not. I mean, like you said, it's not just this case. It's like you can name seven. You said so. You got seven other cases and the same names and popping up time and time again.
Yeah.
So it's a bit. If anyone, what's this? If
Just
anyone
like
has
that sign
contact
I
with,
sent you. That sign you put up a while ago, that picture above the sign that says Timmy's name, those are the people that I know for sure is involved with Timmy. And I put on that sign, why are they being protected? And I went down there and I sat on the third anniversary of Timmy being missing or Timmy being found, which was July 21st. I just went down there and sat at their courthouse with those signs because they're telling me to go away. They told me to go away, that I'm never ever going to find out what happened to him anyway. I need to move on with my life. That's what the judge's wife told me.
so Mr. Steve says here, if anyone, oh, it could be Mrs. Steve, I don't know. If anyone has any contact with a cold case or missing persons family needing buttons, keychains, mirrors, etc. for awareness, advise them to contact True Crime Web, and you can do that through his YouTube channel, or they've also got his foundation being dropped as well in the chat throughout the live. At the end of this live, I will put in the description next to his channel, I'll also put his foundation because Mr. Steve does amazing work. And thank
And
you,
if you do
PJ.
have a loved one missing, or if you're wanting justice and you email that foundation, True Crime Web Foundation, those pins and keychains and magnets and bottle openers are a blessing because I was spending a lot of money buying these bracelets, and I was giving bracelets out because people don't seem to want to just take your paper. Like if you're walking around handing out a missing persons flyer, people don't
Yeah,
want to. A lot of people don't want to take the paper from you. But what I've started doing, and with those bracelets, is I would hand them out, and then they'd say, "Oh, well, what's this about?" And then I'd hand them the paper. So I went broke doing that. And then Mr. Steve and Mrs. Steve got that foundation, and they got them keychains and bottle openers and all that. And it helps because when you have something to hand somebody and they'll like them bottle openers, men like those bottle openers, but then they'll go, "Oh, what's this about?" And then you have your paperwork and you can say, "Well, this is what it's about." Or if you go onto that website, it'll tell you, So those things have been a blessing. I hand them out everywhere I go. If anywhere I go, I hand them out. If I go through a drive-through, I hand them out. If I see you pumping gas, I'm going to walk up to you and give them to you.
yeah. So I get what you mean because it's like you see people coming up to you with a piece of paper, and the immediate thing you think is, "Oh, it's another electric company," or "Oh, it's somebody who wants me to donate to something." Do you know what I mean? So I can see where that comes from. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and even if they know it's a missing person, they don't want the paper. They don't want to carry the paper around. But when you give them something, it seems like they're more interested in knowing what the thing's about. It's I know that doesn't sound right, but that's what my experience with it is. When I hand somebody a keychain
do,
or a
do,
bottle opener.
Doodlebug says Bob will chase you down at Walmart and give you them.
Oh, I do. I do. If you're out and I'm out and you're around me, I will come up to you. I'm not. I like people anyway, but I don't have a problem talking to anybody, so I'll go up to
Yeah,
anybody. Like if I go pump
that's
gas,
fantastic.
I
Well,
hit everybody at the gas pump, and I hand
yeah,
them stories and them keychains and bottle openers. The mirrors. The ladies like the mirrors because they're small and you can put them in your purse, for put your lipstick on or whatever. They're great. The ladies like the mirrors and the men like the bottle openers. And everybody likes the keychain. So it makes it a lot easier to get your story out because when you hand people those things, they want to know what it's about.
I suppose it's good as well because, like, you know, you pull it out the drawer, you go to open your beer, and you think, "Oh," and then you think about where you got that from, and the same with the women when they look in the mirror, they're like, "Oh," do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because the ones that Mr. Steve sent to me, the foundation sent to me was Timmy's picture and it says justice for Timmy. And it's got a picture of Timmy on it. So, and it's round enough that where it's not too big. So you can put it in your pocket. I mean, if you're a beer drinker, it's perfect because it fits in your pocket good and it'll open your bottle. And they're magnifying too. So I have a couple of them on my refrigerator because, and then the foundation sent me some just of Timmy and Michael together, which was a blessing. I got a few pins and just a few. I'm not giving those out. He just sent them to me from my family, him and Mrs. Steve, and they're great. So I have those with both of my kids' picture on them, but the other ones I hand out when I go anywhere.
Steve says at our first meeting, Marion and I spoke for 10 minutes before Barbara finished working the parking lot with flyers at the restaurant.
Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Steve, when I first met him, I even told my sister, I said, that man probably thinks I'm nuts, but hey, there was people there. I'm not missing an opportunity to get my story out to somebody. If there's a person there, I'm going to chase them down. And that's what I did in the parking lot because we were waiting to get into this restaurant and I saw people. I didn't want them getting away from me without my story because I need justice. I just want justice.
Your sister said, "Yeah, well, it's more that's all you really need. Like, I'm not saying you know everything that you need to know, but you know, it's a case of getting the justice now. Like, you kind of know, like, you know where it happened, you know who was involved, and things like that. It's a case of those that were involved are held accountable now, and the you know Timmy can rest knowing that he's not being put down as another statistic or something like that. He's gonna like people are gonna know his story.
Yeah. Well, and Timmy's birthday's, like I said earlier, April the 10th. The Highway Patrol, nobody did a search for Timmy except for us, until April 12th. Other than they looked for Timmy on April the 12th. The Highway Patrol did.
Yeah.
Because I wrote it down on my calendar and I have it all written down here, and it's unreal that I could not get them to even. I mean, it was freezing cold. They came out in the parking lot and talked to me. They didn't let me come in and warm up. They just talked to me on the parking lot and pretty much was like pushing me away.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you think needs highlighting and bringing up, and that you want to talk about?
No, I know the person's name that owns that storage unit. I can't seem to get anything from them for that, and everything gets struck by lightning in that town.
Everything gets struck by lightning, literally,
Yeah.
or
When I did the sunshine law request, my stuff the 911 call was struck by lightning. The tower was struck, and it's interesting to me. Hold on, and I'll tell you the date on. On the third, no, it was the 6th of March. I went down there. That's when Eric Hovis, the chief of police, talked to me. He asked me about them storage units because I was talking about them storage units everywhere because I couldn't believe they wouldn't open that storage unit. And so he sees me out there handing flyers and he asked me if he could talk to me. And I said, sure. He says to me, will you take me to the storage units you're talking about? I said, yes. He was driving. There was 2 deputies in the back seat. I was in the passenger seat. We drove over to the storage units. I showed him what storage units I was talking about. Then we drive back up to the police station. We're sitting in the car and he says to me, he says, well, I don't understand how they knew to go there. He said, how did they know to go there? He said, because my 911 calls go through that sheriff's department too for the city. He said, and if the lightning had struck the equipment, he said, I should have been notified. He said, and I haven't been notified of any of that. And I said, I don't know, sir. I just showed up here because I'm trying to find my son. And he says, well, will you do me a favor? And he made sure he let me know I was on body cam. He said, will you do me a favor and will you call the sheriff's department? I said, I will. I said, but every time I've called them, they keep telling me they're going to have somebody call me back and they never do. I said, but I'll call them. So I did. And I asked the person that answered the phone how they knew to go to that address. And this is their exact words to me. Well, they arrested somebody there the night before. I go, are you kidding me? I said, so if I called 911, you're going to go to wherever you arrested somebody last night to look for me? And they hung the phone up on me. And when I asked for that body cam, they said lightning struck that too. A whole nother time because the lightning fixed the tower. That was fixed. And then on August 3rd, they had another lightning strike there where that stuff got struck by lightning. So I don't have that to prove of what I'm saying, that they had that conversation with me in that vehicle.
wow,
So
that's
every time you
crazy.
want something important, lightning strikes it, which I don't understand how lightning strikes body cam. But when I did the sunshine law request to the chief of police, which is Eric Hovis, when I did that report with him, he sent me that letter saying lightning struck. But what about the paperwork? Because the PI and I went in his office and sat for over an hour and talked to him. None. He gave me nothing. He said he has nothing. It's out of his jurisdiction and he doesn't have anything because lightning struck. Well, then the whole building should have burnt down, because what about the paperwork of when he was writing stuff down when I was in there with that PI? I'm being kind of a smart aleck now, but seriously.
No. So we've covered the week before. We've covered all the topics, I think. But I don't think I'm
Yeah.
sure there's much more to talk about. But can you just tell us a bit about this picture?
Yeah, that picture. Timmy had a car accident when he was young, or well, a few years before all this happened. He had a bad car accident and he got addicted to pain pills. So when he got out of the hospital and started doing too many pain pills, he went to rehab in Florida, and that picture was him at rehab, and he had somebody take a picture of him and he sent it to me.
So that was while he was in rehab after a car accident
That's the rehab
in
center.
Florida.
He was proud of himself, so he had somebody take that picture and he sent it to me.
I was in because he's up at his mobile. You mean?
Yeah, he was at the rehab center in that picture.
Now, what I'm saying is proud of himself for being up and being mobile. Because after a car accident, I'm guessing he wasn't very mobile.
Oh yeah, he broke his neck, his back, his pelvis, and had a brain bleed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he almost died. So he was in the hospital for quite a while, and then he went to a rehab center to learn how to walk and everything again. And then he had a problem with pain pills. So, but Timmy was, when he got home from the rehab center, he was getting shots from his doctor. I don't know what the name of the shots are, but he went and got them every month, because I took him, usually went with him, and we went to the Mexican restaurant right there, which some of them pictures are him at the restaurant with me. And we'd go over to this Mexican restaurant and eat. And he wanted that shot. It wasn't, nobody forced him to take that shot. He made the appointments, and he would get a shot every month.
So Jim Wagner Radio News says, "God bless Mom Barbara. It's a travesty that she's being stonewalled. Love the tie dye on his shirt. I'm guessing."
Yeah, Timmy loved tie dye. Thank you. But yeah, I have a few of his shirts here that were tie dye. He liked tie dye. That's why the bracelets were tie dye. And his favorite color was green. So I had green, blue, and white on the bracelets. And then thank God for the foundation, because I can't afford to buy bracelets anymore, but they worked for the time. That's how I got Timmy's story out, was handing out bracelets. And now I hand out bottle openers, mirrors, and keychains. It works. So if anybody in this chat has anybody that's missing, I recommend that you get a hold of that foundation and get you some of that stuff. It doesn't cost you anything, and it truly helps you get your story out.
So overall, it's been a fight for you, just to get police to talk to you at first, and then when he was found, it was you've been on this non-stop.
3 years.
What would you call it? What would you call it?
Well, it's funny. My bag says adventure. So I carried around a bag that says that I'm on an adventure for a year. I had my stories, my bracelets, all my stuff in this bag. I carry it around everywhere. And after carrying it around for a year, I got to looking at it one day, and on the side of the bag, it says, I'm on an adventure. Well, I'm on an adventure for justice for my son. So the bag was kind of appropriate after I realized what it said, because I didn't pay much attention to it. I just threw my stuff in it and go hand out stories.
So you call it you're on an adventure to get justice for Timmy.
Yes.
Well, I think you're doing an amazing job. When we talked on the phone the other week, um, everything that you was telling me, like I don't know if I'd be able to do it if I was in the same situation. I genuinely don't think I'd be able to find the strength. So I have
Mm.
to commend you, and I think you're probably one of the strongest people that I've ever spoken to.
It's not me, it's God. Believe me, I could not do this and lost two kids and still be alive if it wasn't for God. I put all my faith in Him, and He keeps me strong enough to do this. And there's people don't see some of the stuff behind the scenes that I go through, and it's not. I don't feel very strong, but I wake up every day believing that God's carrying me. There's a poem or a saying that the footprint poem, and it talks about God carrying you. And you only see 1 foot, 2 foot footprints, and it's because but there's two people there. It's God, and I think it's amazing that there's two footprints there, and I believe God carries me every day. That's what gets me through.
Well, he certainly is getting you through. That's for sure. Because the strength I've seen in you, because I actually met you through being in Steve's chats. I'd been there for his Delphi stuff, and you'd be in there and you'd be talking to everyone, and things like that. And then once I got going here, I was like, I've got to sit down with her. I've got to let her tell Timmy's story here,
Thank
because at
you.
the end of the day, that's why I'm doing it, for families to come on. And you were one of the first families since. Well, you when I met you, when I was talking to you, it was before I started the channel. But like, you were one of the first that I'd had interacted with since being in the true crime community. Because I took a break, you see, and when I come back, do you know what I mean? You were
Mm.
in Mr. Steve's chats, and you were always in there. I think you actually had Timmy in your name back then.
Yeah. Oh, I started a channel called Timmy's Legacy. And honestly, that was one thing I tried it, and I would be a nervous wreck the whole week. And then an hour or so before I would start, I would be pacing the floors. And I have chronic shingles I get when I get nervous. And I was breaking out with shingles all the time. So I quit doing the channel because it's just too much. Maybe someday I will do that to help other people get their loved ones that are missing out. But right now, it's too much.
Well, I think you do a fantastic job getting out there, because every interview I've seen, you don't mince your words, you don't try and sugarcoat the story for people. You get in, you tell the story, and the work that you're doing outside of the internet, as in your everyday life. You go into work, and then when you're not at work, you're going around and you're handing out leaflets, flyers, and
Shoot,
I
if I
believe you
go to
do.
work, I take my flyers with me because if I stop
Yeah,
at a gas station or somewhere, I'm handing them out.
but you also do protests. Are they still going on, or
Yeah, well, we were going to Jeff City and trying to get them to do something. I actually even spoke in Jeff City, but I don't know. It seems like nobody wants to do anything. I'm not understanding.
what do you mean? Nobody wants to do anything.
I mean, you go to Jeff City, you talk about it. I've talked to the governor. I've talked to the attorney general. The attorney
Oh, okay.
general, when I did the Sunshine Law request to the Highway Patrol for the investigation after I found out they closed it, I was having a hard time getting my stuff. And by law, our attorney general is supposed to fulfill the Sunshine Law request. So I waited, and they have 30 days to give you the paperwork. Well, it was going on months. So I called the attorney general and was making a complaint because they charged me $560. And I said, I paid $560 and I still don't have my paperwork. And I was getting a second autopsy done. And when I gave the paperwork to the guy that was doing the second autopsy, he said, "Where's the rest of it?" I said, "What do you mean, where's the rest of it? That's all they gave me." He goes, "No, there's more to this than that." So I called Jeff City trying to get more. And that's when the lady there, well, her and I ended up crying on the phone together. And that's when she sent me those pictures of the scene of where Timmy was found. And that's how I found out the tooth was out and was put back in, because on them in the pictures I have his tooth knocked out. His bottom tooth's knocked out with a permanent retainer, and his top tooth's knocked out. But in the pictures that the coroner gave me, the tooth's back in his mouth. I don't even know how that happens, but it's nowhere documented in any of my paperwork that his tooth was number 8 top tooth was out. They put it back and never stated it anywhere that it was even out. If it wasn't for those pictures, I would have never known Timmy's tooth was out. And then I went to the funeral home. I took pictures of Timmy's skeleton remains, and the pictures don't look the same as the pictures that they gave me. So when I talked to the attorney general sent me a letter and told me that they were as the highway patrol was an entity to them, and that they didn't have to make the highway patrol give me anything. If I wanted my paperwork, I had to hire an attorney. Well, attorney wants $35,000. I don't have $35,000. So it took me 6 months, and finally they did send me my paperwork, though. But it took 6 months. And I can prove that I don't even have it all. I know people that they questioned and talked to that have nowhere in my paperwork does it say they even talked to them. But I know these people. They told me they talked to the highway patrol, talked to them, but nowhere in my documents does it say that they even talked to them. So I can prove that they didn't give me everything. And then that Bobby Boone girl that Caleb's talking to, I think it's very interesting that her audio, something happened to the audio. It wasn't working.
So they did. So not only did they not, you feel they didn't investigate, they didn't really look for your son when he was missing, but now you feel like they're holding things back from you.
I know they did. I'm not feeling it. I know they did. I can prove that they held things back from me. I have the documents, and I have people on recording telling me that they talked to the highway patrol, but in my documents, that doesn't even mention their names. Like one lady told me that she was the highway patrol was supposed to do a check out this phone of Caleb's girlfriend. They said they were going to do that. And then the lady said that when she got a hold of the phone company, because she was paying the phone bill, that the phone company told her that the highway patrol would have to do a warrant. Jeff Johnson, the highway patrol detective, said he was going to do that, and he never did it. And Amber was actually, that's Caleb's girlfriend that he's got a son by, told her that she please don't give him my phone records. You're going to get me in trouble. And Jeff Johnson never got the phone records, and everybody that was there got a new phone and a new phone number. And I thought that was interesting, because they're saying the reason why they got a new phone was because I was harassing them. I never harassed them. Not saying I wouldn't have. If I had their phone number, I probably would have called them and harassed them. But I never had their phone number to harass them, so they're lying about that. But they're all saying that's why they got rid of their phones, because I was harassing them.
Yeah, I agree with this on what Doodlebug said. Again, going back to Collab, I'm not sure why they trusted Collab. I never will trust a man that tells his sister that she's good looking. In the description to this live is Drunk Turkey Show's Daniel's show from last night, and you see a part of a conversation with his sister, and the way he talks to his sister, it's just not how you talk to your sister. The advice he gives her, the way
Telling
he calls
her to sell pictures of herself.
yeah, and he calls criminals to come and have a look at her. It's a strange one.
It's sick. You don't do that if you love your sister. You don't do that stuff. But there's a lot there. That's just one of the recordings of him talking to his sister. There's a few more that's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's for me. He's a very strange character, and if I was a police officer and I ever come across him, I would hound him. As in, I would look for probable cause on absolutely anything in his life, just to keep him off the streets. but obviously you can't do that as a police officer. But that's how I feel about him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's still there. He's still running around that town because the girl told me that she saw him. Somebody called. I know where Caleb is. People
Oh,
contacted me. They let me know. I
so
have
like
met some great people.
he thinks he's in hiding, does he?
Yeah, he thinks he's invincible. But that's okay for now. He can act like he's invincible and that he got away with it, but he ain't gonna get away with it. I trust God.
Yeah.
Just like, just like the judge there. The judge's wife there told me to go away. She was so mean to me. I was stunned. I looked at her. I said, "Well, apparently you don't know my God," because she kept yelling at me. There was other people there with me, and she kept telling me I
The
needed to
judge's
go away.
wife. The judge's wife, is that the owner of the property by any chance? Where not that was
Yeah,
not far.
it's the property Timmy was found on.
Yeah,
Is the
that's what I wanted to get at.
judge and his wife. And I went to this event that because when I was sitting at that courthouse, I watched them build a building there because I was there for 5 months. So they built a building called the Justice Center. I saw that they were having the ribbon cutting at that Justice Center. So I went, and a few other people that are wanting justice for their loved ones went too. We all went. We met up there, went to that. When we walked in the door, you could tell they didn't want us there. Nobody spoke to us. Even all them people at the that meeting that I went to. That what's it called? There, I can't think of the name of it now. But anyway, they were all there. The sheriff was there. Never said a word. And then we went to line up to get our pictures taken. Right. And the girl that was taking the picture, she says, "This picture's not even." She says, "I want you and you to go over and stand over here." And I'm standing in front, and they put the judge in front of me. I'm only 5 foot tall. This judge is 6 foot. He's standing in front of me, and his wife is standing there. And I looked at the rest of the families that are trying to get justice there, and I said, "I don't think they want to send this picture." And when she starts going, "Yes, it ain't like that," I go, "Ma'am, it sure feels like that. I think it's just like that." She goes, "It ain't like that." I go, "Yeah, it is." So jumped in front of. I got pictures to prove it. I jumped in front of the judge and I kneeled on the floor, and I said, "I'm getting in this picture because this is the Justice Center, and I'm wanting justice." So I'm kneeling on the floor in front of the judge on the ground, and then his wife is telling me that it's not like that. And I said, "Yeah, it is." And then right before they took the picture, because my friend took the first picture when I'm kneeling on the floor. When they took the other picture for the newspaper, the lady says, "Oh, you can stand up." So I stood up. So I'm in that picture too. But then after that picture was taken, um, the judge's wife was walking by, and she had some cute. This is how it went. I know it sounds silly, but she had some cute shoes on. And I said to her, I said, "Oh, those are cute shoes." She goes, "Thank you." She goes, "You need to just go away." And I go, "What do you mean go away?" She goes, "Well, you're never ever going to find out what happened to your son anyway. You just need to move on with your life." And the day before, I went to Jeff City, and they got this thing called Missing Missouri Missing. It's for missing people in Missouri. They had a big
Yeah.
event going on there, so I went to Jeff City the day before, and they gave me a pin that said Missouri Missing. And so I had that pin on, and she pointed at the pin, and she goes, she goes, "You need to go help them people." I go, "Oh, I'm going to." I said, "Because it's a nightmare not knowing where your loved one is when they're missing." And she goes, "Well," she said, "you need to move on with your life and go work for them. Do something, because you're never, ever, ever going to find out what happened to your son anyway." And I said, "Well, ma'am," I said, "that's what everybody was saying about my son not being found, too." I said, "But God told me he was going to be found." I said, "And he was found." I said, "And I believe what God told me." I said, "And God told me that I'm going to get justice for my son someday." I said, "Or I'll sit out in front of that courthouse till you find my skeleton remains." And she stomps away from me. Then she comes back. She goes, "You know who I am?" And I kind of thought I knew who she was, but I wasn't positive. And I said, "No." She goes, "I'm where your son with body was found." And then she walked away from me. I'm telling you what, it took everything I had not to jump on that woman. I'm not gonna lie. I
That's
just walked
unreal.
out of there. I got outside, and everybody looked
So,
at me and said, "How did you do that?" I said, "I don't know. I just went to my car."
so that conversation started from you complimenting her to,
About a pair of
you know,
shoes. She had a pair of little
yeah.
red shoes on that were cute.
Well, I think that's absolutely disgusting, and it almost sounds like she threatened you at the end to me, like I'm where your son's remains was found, as
Yeah,
in like on my property.
she said your son's remains was found on my property, and she stomped away. And I'm telling you, I love the Lord, so I didn't do anything, but I could feel my body wanting to jump her. I'm not gonna lie about it. So I just got out of there. And then when I got outside, everybody looked at me and said, "How'd you do that?" I said, "I don't know." And I just went to my car and I broke down in my car because I'm not going to break down in front of people. And that's how that went. And then the judge and his wife sold their property and moved to Florida, but the judge still does cases there, which doesn't make any sense. And I got to know the two ladies that bought the property that the judge sold where Timmy was found. And they told me that the judge's wife told them not to let me on that property and not let me put a cross there or anything. Well, we put a cross there in the beginning and they removed it.
Well, it sounds to me like you've had a lot to deal with, and I mean, to start with, your son's missing. The investigators, like they did search, but they did like one or two searches, and they didn't search where you said, like, well, where the ideal places to search and whatnot.
And
And
the real weird thing is too, and this is not. I don't even think I've said anything about this. This lady was showing up at the courthouse to hand out flyers with me. I don't know where she came from, but she just showed up and yeah, you want to hand out flyers? I gave her some flyers. And then she's coming every day. And then one day she comes up to me. She goes, "Can I talk to you over there on the bench?" So I go over and sit with her on the bench. And she tells me that she knows a guy that knows what happened and that Timmy's body was in this camper and Mark One, which is a little bitty area that's still Madison County, but it's a little bitty small town. And she's giving me all this information. So I called the PI and I tell the PI about it. Well, the PI and I and Timmy's dad, and we all met up with this guy that said he had information. And Timmy's dad gave the man $1,000. And then the guy was just gone. And so the highway patrol, when they got involved, said that they were going to find that guy and get our $1,000 back. Well, I found out who the guy was because I can't put this out there. So anyway, I found out who he was. I got a picture of him. I know who he is. I know his name. I know everything. I tried to give that to the highway patrol, and they told me that it wasn't a part of the investigation. And I said, "Well, that's not what you told me in the beginning when you first got involved. You told me you were going to get the money back, that was extortion or something to families, taking money from them." And they never did anything about that either.
so your sister said she lives not far from Delphi, and that's how she come across Mr. Steve. It's crazy how like another case helps another case. As in, that's how you guys met Mr. Steve, and then from there, like Mr. Steve's
Yeah.
done all the work that he's done for you.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
my sister's was following the Delphi case. So when she found out that Mr. Steve True Crime Web was covering the case, that was the one, because we sat down and wrote down podcasting. And she took a list and I took a list. And we sat on podcasting every single day. I'm on podcasting 2, 3 times a day. I'm just in people's chat, listening to their story, trying to help them get their stories out, but getting to know people too, so I can get Timmy's story out. Well, that's how I met you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
I used to go and watch.
my
Say
sister is
again.
the one that found True Crime Web, and she wasn't telling me about it. And then when she finally did tell me about it, she goes, "They're going to get a hold of you." Well, I had waited a week, and I called her up crying. Nobody's ever got going to get a hold of me. And then Mr. Steve did call me, and that's when we were going to Florida, and I had all the documents by then, and I gave them all to Mr. Steve. Well, after we handed out the flyers in the parking lot, we went into the restaurant, and I gave Mr. Steve, showed him the pictures of Timmy, and I told him, I said, I said, if you can look at these pictures and tell me that my son wasn't murdered, I said, I guess I will have to accept that. I said, but there's so much crazy stuff to this that I don't trust anything. But if you tell me that that's the case, I'm going to accept that. And then he looked at the pictures and he goes, "Oh no," he goes, "It's a homicide." And then went from there.
Well, I just want to point out again in the description to this video, we've got multiple links that are important to this case. We've got Ruckus and Steve, the Drunk Turkey show from last night, which I think was an amazing live. Then we've got the Lawless Files. That's a video that you sent me the other week to pass around.
Yeah, the Lawless
You know,
Files. He's an investigative reporter out of southern Missouri. And remember me telling you about that young girl that went missing right after Timmy, that her uncle killed her? Her
yeah.
her, her mom knew him, Bob Miller from the Lawless Files. So because I helped her get flyers out of her daughter, she asked him to call me, and he called me, and then that Timmy was still missing, and that man's been with me from there on.
So his video's in there, and it is very informative. This video, it's about 40 minutes long, and I don't even know how he's managed it, but he's got a lot of information into that video. Then we've got Arctic True Fox. It's actually his last live he did. He had you on, didn't he?
Yeah,
That's there.
yeah. Arctic had actually quite a few with me in the beginning when Timmy was found, because he got a hold of me and I didn't know what I was doing. So
Yeah.
he's told me he was a podcaster, and I said, "What's a podcaster?" Because I didn't know. I had no social media before this happened. I had Facebook year prior, but I got rid of all of it because sometimes it's not the best, but it's a good tool to use for other things. But sometimes it's not great to have.
Oh,
You
I
know what I
agree.
mean? I
It's
mean,
it's great. It's great for sharing things and things like that. But it's like on YouTube. Um, I I've seen it like all over the platform. You got those who they want to hear what the family's got to say. They want to share what the family's got to say, and then you got those that they just must pull something out of thin air and be like, "This is what's happened in the case," and like that's what they have all over, and that's how they present it. And then towards the end, it's like, "Well, that's my opinion anyway," and it's like, "Wow."
yeah, I've experienced experience with some of them that weren't great either. So you have to be careful who you're working with. And then you got, Doodlebugs in here. She's great. She's great about
Yeah,
making
yeah, I'm
flyers.
subscribed to that.
She knows how to make flyers. Within 5 minutes, she'll get you a flyer, because I don't know how to make flyers. So I get a hold of her and she makes flyers. We kind of made a deal because I have a good printer and I can't afford StreamYard like she does. So she does the StreamYard, and then I print the stuff out if she wants me to. And we kind of do that together. I love Doodle. She's become my best friend, actually.
She's an amazing creator. I always because
She
I'm in
went to
the
the
UK,
parade with
obviously.
me.
Say again.
I've been in their parades. They have a parade every year down there. I've been in their parades ever since Timmy was missing. I was in the parade on Mother's Day when Timmy was still missing. I walked in that parade. It's a 2-mile walk. It was horrible. But this year, Doodlebug and we made flyers, and I kept calling that place the Wild Wild West. And I thought it was kind of interesting that they made their parade theme this last time the Wild Wild West. So Doodle made some flyers of missing people in Missouri, and Timmy and she made them like, wanted posters. They look like wanted posters, but she put missing on them, and we put them, plastered them all over our car, got a bunch of candy, which was another blessing. I stopped at the dollar store, and this girl that was working in there. She was the manager, and I told her I needed some candy for this parade to give to the kids. You wouldn't believe all the candy I got cheap. And so Doodlebug and I drove in that parade and threw candy out to the kids. And it's bittersweet because it was a good time for what it was. Seeing,
Well, she
being
says
able
that
to throw.
you're a partner in non-crime. No, she does amazing work. I normally catch her on the replay. I think since I've found her, because I only found her recently myself. I've
No.
been in one live, but it's for me it's the time difference. Like because I'm in the UK, it's like middle of the night for me when a lot of creators go live. What's her name? Southern Girl. She's another
Southern Gal.
one.
She's great
Yeah,
too. Yes.
I,
She's
I
got
normally
great
catch
heart.
her because around about that time of night, I'll wake
You-
up and I'll go, like, go to the toilet and things like that, and I'll get back in bed and I'll check my phone. I'm like, oh, there she is.
Yeah. I get on. I've done a live with Southern Gal too.
Yeah, that's great.
She did a
I'll look
live.
for that then, and I'll
It's
put
been
that
a
in
while
the
back.
yeah. I'll put that in the description then as well.
Southern Gal's great about getting missing flyers out. Her and Doodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Southern Gal every Monday night. She's my Monday night date. That's what I call it. And then you got a few others that I have a Friday night date. I live on podcasting. I made a full-time job out of being on people's channels, supporting them and sharing other people's stories and getting Timmy's out at the same time. My squirrel's back. I have this squirrel that keeps coming up on my porch and drinking water out of my plants. It's funny.
Well, we've got Southern Girls link in the chat, so if I can find it though, I'll definitely put it in this description so people can. Because I encourage people, if you're coming in on the replay or guys in the chat now, if you're bored after this, literally just jump to the description and I've got Mr. Steve's channel, Ruckus's channel, and then I've got Lawless Files. That's a brilliant video. Then there's Arctic Foxes live with Barbara, and then there's Timmy's Facebook group for those that are on Facebook that like to help out and things like that by sharing things. As Barbara said, if you've got something you need to share it in there because that's why it's there.
Yeah, it started getting a few people on there, and I thought, well, I'm not going to take it down because it's another tool to get another flyer out that somebody might see that person. So I always try to encourage anybody, you want to use that platform to put a flyer out, go for it.
Yeah, that's great. So where are you now? As in, you're not giving up. We know that. But what is it? What is it we can do that can help, like progress for you? As in, like, is there anything that you're doing that people can get involved with, or anything like that?
Right now, I'm just focusing on getting that petition signed too, because when I get enough, which I don't know how many signatures I need yet, but I need so many that I haven't looked it up. But once I get that petition, I'm going to take it to Jefferson City and see if I can give it to the Attorney General or somebody, the governor or somebody there. I've talked to him. But
I find it
I'm having a
strange that
hard time getting
the
anybody
governor's
to
not
even
helping
call
you.
you back at this point.
I find it strange that the governor doesn't want to help you because normally, when governors have cases put on their lap like
It's
this,
really
they tend
strange how
to
that goes
they
because
tend because like Harmony Montgomery, they contacted the governor And basically, you're going to go
Well,
and look for out what's going on. But a lot of that was she hadn't been reported missing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I
But
know all about that. I watched that. That's really sad. But our
yeah,
governor, for some reason, and it's happened with me with the news too. I had several news channels. They would used to talk to me, and I feel like somebody told him to shut up because the governor seemed interested. I even talked to my state representative where I live here, and he asked me to email him a few things. I emailed it to him, and he said he was going to check into it. And then he called me one other time and said that he had just got elected in and that he was going to see what he could do. And then now nobody will talk to you. It's almost like it's just how I feel. I don't know if it's true, but it feels like they're being told to shut up and leave it alone.
it is a strange one.
I mean,
But
they got a really
I
strange airport down there in Fredericktown, Missouri. That airport, everybody keeps bringing up that airport to me when I sit at that courthouse. So that airport is very interesting to me. They got a nice airport there. I'm not gonna you. I probably don't even have to tell my opinion on what I think of that airport, but I've heard some shady stuff goes on at that airport in Fredericktown, Missouri.
I just find it strange, and obviously I'm not a police officer and things like that. So I just wonder what motives would they have? Do you know what I mean? What motive would they have to just brush a case under the do you know what I mean? Under the carpet.
Well, I think, then it's just my opinion. Why wouldn't you investigate unless you're hiding something? Because I mean, Mr. Steve and I have been to the prosecutor and we've been to the sheriff with this new evidence, and they will not even answer the phone to me. They won't answer the phone. They don't want to do nothing, and it makes you wonder what's going on there that you would not. The evidence is sitting on your desk, and you don't want to do anything with it. So what are you hiding? What's going to come up? What's going to be opened up if you investigate this? What are you trying to hide here? That's just my opinion. I mean, wouldn't you think? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you look
Yeah,
at
no,
these
I
things
agree.
unless you're trying to hide something?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
so that what they're doing is making themselves more suspicious for not doing anything. I mean,
I
that really
100%
does
agree.
not make sense to me at all that you just won't do anything. You won't answer the phone to me. Well, finally, the sheriff, he didn't answer the phone. Yesterday, I called the sheriff and I left a message because that sheriff showed Mr. Steve and I, when we were in there giving him the documents and the evidence and stuff, a picture of Caleb being arrested. He showed that
Oh,
picture to us. So I wanted that picture. So yesterday I called the sheriff and I said to him, I left a voicemail and I said, hey, I was wondering if I could get that picture that you showed me and Mr. Steve when Caleb got arrested, because I thought it was kind of strange that they would even take a picture of him being put in handcuffs. And he would not answer the phone. I waited all day yesterday. Then last night, when Daniel from the Drunken Turkey Show sent me the link, I sent it to that sheriff because I got his cell phone number. So I sent that link to that podcast over to him yesterday. And as soon as he got it, he sent me the picture of Caleb then. But he wouldn't answer the phone to me or send it to me before until I sent him that podcast. I thought that was interesting.
well, your sister's made a great point. You said why wouldn't they want to talk about it and things like that? And she says so it doesn't bring attention to the town.
Yeah, that's what I'm believing at this point, and it's making it more suspicious because they won't do anything. It's bringing more attention to the town because I'm not going away. And then there's a lot of people that's gone through this down there and they're scared. I've met people that walked up to me at that courthouse that are scared to death to live there. There's a lady that works in the courthouse said she can't even let her grandkids play in the yard because there's a they call them trap houses next door, and the police won't do anything. Just like the two ladies that bought that property that the judge and his wife lived on. And when I went down there, they told me, them two ladies that bought the place told me that there's like drug activity everywhere on that street. I said, yeah. I said, that's interesting to me. I said, when you've only been here 3 months and the judge has lived here for years and he didn't notice it. And
Yeah,
they said that
yeah.
they've called the police and because they've seen drug activity since they've been living there. And they said the police don't do anything. So what's that tell you?
Well, tells me, like, but I already questioned privately with some people. I said it sounds to me like they're happy with how things are. Um, you know, a few bodies here and there, it's just collateral damage to them. Do you know what I mean? Uh, but they can deal with it because they're the system. But I was told that that's not the case, and
You know
you
what it
understand what
reminds me of? You know what all this reminds me of that a case that I've seen lately that this place reminds me of? You know that guy that shot the prosecutor? Have you heard of that
I
case?
shot the
I don't know the
prosecutor.
name of the case, but it's a guy that it's in Kentucky. The sheriff in Kentucky shot the prosecutor. Now all
Oh no, he shot
kinds
the
of
judge.
dirt.
He shot the judge.
Oh yeah, the judge. It was the judge who shot. That's right. Anyway, all kinds of stuff's coming out on that now.
Yeah, that one's
And that's
that's
what
actually a wild
Fredericktown
case, isn't
reminds
it?
me of. It's like,
Someone
oh,
said
so
to me, "Go
in
on."
that case, Frank, this is how I feel about that case. That sheriff was okay with everything that was going on there until his daughter got involved. And then he goes and shoots the judge. Well, now all this stuff's coming out about what's been going on there. And I think the same thing's going on in Fredericktown, Missouri.
Yeah, well, someone asked me to cover like if I was going to cover that case, and I did. Like 'cause I do lives where I'll cover multiple cases in an hour, and I covered that one. And someone said, "Are you going to be doing more details in like going into more detail on that case?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Where would I start?"
Did you see where them women are speaking out that,
Yeah,
yeah. So when I watched that, I was like, wow, that reminds me of Fredericktown. So, in
yeah,
other words, that sheriff in that case, he was okay with all that stuff happening to all them young people and until it started happening to his family. So, does these people think it's never going to affect their family? Because if you don't do anything about it, it's going to eventually affect your family.
yeah. If you're not doing anything about it, yeah,
I mean, that's exactly what this makes me feel like since I've been watching that case. It's like, this is exactly how I feel about Fredericktown. Is that what's going on there? Because I've heard some crazy stories. You would
the
not
only
believe
thing,
some of the stuff I've heard sitting at that courthouse. People, when they see you sitting there, they pull over and talk.
yeah, the only thing that pulls me away from it being, a corrupt little town because when I first looked into the case and that after speaking to you, like that was my first thoughts. Like with everything that I was seeing, I was like, this must be like a small little town, and it's all run and it's operated, and it's all like, do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
they've got them running it their way, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah. That it's interesting to me on the cases that I know about. It's the same coroner, same highway patrol, and same sheriff. Now it's a different sheriff now, even though he's not doing anything. I don't understand why, but Katie McCutcheon has been the sheriff there for 2 terms. She was the sheriff when this happened to Timmy. And then while I was sitting there, I hear about all these other people that's lost their loved ones there. And it's the same coroner, same sheriff, and same highway patrol. So when they got a new prosecutor, and I went in and talked to the prosecutor, and I said to him, I said, it seems to me like the police here just tell the coroner what to write on these reports, and that's what they do. He shook his head, yes. I don't have any proof of that, but I promise you that happened. And now you got, I thought when Nick Adams got in, the new sheriff, that something would be done, but it hasn't been done. Well, then, as I'm sitting there, you learn things when you sit. I sat there at that courthouse and I watched everything going on, and I watched people pulling over talking to me. And that sheriff, Katie McCutcheon, got in the 2nd term. She was in the newspaper for cutting some lady's grass, some old woman's grass. Come to find out, they're really good to their old people there. Well, I know why, because I've been to every election they've had since this has happened too. I've sat outside their doors, and they they vote. That's the thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
older
young
people
people
vote.
don't think that it's important to vote, but it's very important to vote, because when I'm sitting there, all the people that vote are they're elderly people, and they cater to the elders there. And they see the elders don't have the social media. They don't have all this stuff. So they just believe the police and the sheriff, what they say. And if they go mow their grass, oh, aren't they sweet? And they get elected in, is how I'm feeling that I've saw.
Yeah. Yeah. You said you wanted to keep it to around about 2 hours for the replay crew and that. We're just approaching that now.
Okay.
So, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this, taking the time out because you didn't have to. Thank you for taking your time out to come on my channel and talk about it. Second of all, let me just tell you just how brave you are, and the amazing things you've done. Because you're not only just finding answers for your son, you're encouraging other people as well around you to stand up as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if we don't, then what are we going to just let him take? I mean, what do we do? If we don't stand up, we're just supposed to go home and lay down and die. I can't do that. That was my baby. I gave birth to him. He was mine. They had no right to take him.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you want to say to the guys in the
I
chat?
want to tell everybody that's here. I don't know who's here because I can't see the comments, but thank you all for your support. I can't express how grateful I am for everybody, and thank you for doing this live. It means a lot to me.
Yeah. Well, if you want to do another one, say, in a couple of months, I'm not. I don't need to tell you, to keep doing this on other platforms because I know that you're going to. But if you want to come back in a couple of months and do another run at this, you're more than welcome. You've got me on Messenger, so if ever you want to reach out just to talk, or if there's any updates or anything like that, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. And you're always welcome to come here and spread your son's stuff in the chat if you want. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Thank you so
If
much.
I'm live and you see the live, feel
I
free
never
to
get
come in.
notifications for anybody anymore. I think I'm on so many now that I just don't get notifications. So
But
I
yeah,
just
like
have
I
to
said,
get on there and look up everybody.
even if it's just put something in the like you can put things in the chat throughout the lives if I'm live. If it comes to like you catch a replay or you see a
Okay.
video, you can write something in the comments and I'll pin it to the top of the chat for you, to the top of the comments for you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you,
more than welcome.
everybody. Thank you. I have to say, before we leave here, can I say I have met through this tragedy some wonderful people. There are good people out there. I still believe there's more good people than there are bad people. Because
Yeah,
I've met some, man, sitting at that courthouse, people would bring me food, water, umbrellas, fans. I mean, there's good people in that town. It's just
yeah,
sad that a lot of them don't know what's going on in the town because they control the news down there, even the newspaper. If I wasn't living
yeah.
this nightmare, I wouldn't believe it, Frank. I'm just saying, I wouldn't.
No, I agree with you. I speak to the families that I've had on, and that the one family I won't say who, the things that they told me after the live, they was like, "Oh, this that we should have mentioned," and I was like, "I'm glad you didn't, because that could affect because their loved one's still missing, and I was like, that could affect that could affect the case." And I was like, "Have you told law enforcement?" They're like, "Yeah, they don't want to listen."
Yeah, I had somebody tell me just the last couple of days that I shouldn't be doing this because it could affect the case. What case? They've closed the case. How's it going to hurt me? They've already closed the case and they're not doing anything. So I'm going to speak out. I'm not going away like that judge's wife told me to.
Yeah,
I mean, the highway patrol told me in the very beginning not to talk to any of you guys.
it's like, I mean, I can understand why, but if there's no case, if there's no case at the moment going on, why would they tell you not to talk?
Yeah. That just makes you want to
Crazy.
talk more when they do that to you, because they're trying to shut you up so they can shove it under the rug like they've done these other cases in that town. It's insane.
So, guys, as we're ending the live now, can you fill the chat with green hearts for Timmy and for Barbara as well? And Barbara, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
You've been brilliant. And like I said, you can always reach out to me. And if ever you want to do this again in a few months, you're more than welcome to come up. I know Mr. Steve might do a live answering questions and going over things that we've discussed tonight. So if he finds the time, you're more than welcome to come on that one as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you guys do. I know it's hard work because I couldn't do it. I tried.
Well, we do the easy work. We
Not
do the easy work. We turn our computers on and we talk about the cases. Yeah, it's distressing sometimes and that, but you're living it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're having to live it.
Yes. But I'll survive. God's carried me this far.
Well, like I said, you're always welcome over here and things like that. Thank you for coming on.
Okay,
Guys,
you.
thank you for coming. If you haven't hit the like, hit the like. If you haven't shared Barbara's story that she's told today, hit the share button and share it everywhere you can.
Thank you, everybody, and have a blessed night. Thanks, Frank.
Good night, Barbara.
Good night.
Good night.